The day I discovered what true betrayal felt like, I was sitting at our mahogany dining table, surrounded by college acceptance letters. Harvard, Stanford, MIT. Their prestigious letterheads scattered before me like fallen leaves. My hands trembled as I held the latest one from Princeton, their words of congratulation blurring through my tears. Mom, Dad, I got in. I got into Princeton. My voice echoed through our sprawling Victorian home, a house that had witnessed 3 generations of the Montgomery family's success. My mother's heels clicked against the hardwood floors as she approached, her face bearing an expression I couldn't quite read. Behind her, my father's heavy footsteps followed, his usual confident stride somehow hesitant. "That's wonderful, Catherine," my mother said, but her tone carried none of the excitement I'd expected. She exchanged a glance with my father, who cleared his throat and loosened his silk tie. "Sit down, Kathy. We need to talk." I sank back into my chair, the acceptance letter still clutched in my hands. Something in their demeanor made my stomach twist into knots. "Your brother William," my father began, "his tech startup is showing incredible promise. The prototype he's developed could revolutionize renewable energy storage." He paused, adjusting his glasses. "But he needs significant funding to take it to the next level." My mother stepped forward, her manicured fingers trailing along the table's edge. "We've decided to invest in his company. It's a remarkable opportunity, one that could secure the family's future for generations." "That's great," I said, though uncertainty crept into my voice. "But what about my college tuition? The fund you've been saving since I was born?" The silence that followed felt like a physical weight pressing against my chest. "Catherine," my father said firmly, using my full name. "Never a good sign. We've made the decision to use your college fund to support William's venture. It's what's best for the family." The world seemed to tilt on its axis. "What?" "But that was my money. You promised." "Don't be selfish, Catherine," my mother cut in sharply. "William's project could be worth millions. You can take out student loans like other people do, or maybe consider a local community college for a few years." I stared at them, these people who had raised me, who had always preached about the importance of education, who had spent years encouraging my dreams of attending an Ivy League school. Now they stood before me, calmly destroying those dreams to favor my brother. Again. William had always been their golden child. 4 years older than me, he dropped out of college to pursue his entrepreneurial dreams, while I spent my high school years maintaining a perfect GPA, serving as class president, and winning national science competitions. William bounced from one failed startup to another, each time convincing our parents to invest just a little more. "How much?" I asked, my voice barely a whisper. "What?" my father frowned. "How much of my college fund did you give him?" My mother shifted uncomfortably. "All of it. The full $289,000. The number hit me like a physical blow. Nearly $300,000 gone. Every birthday check from grandparents, every summer job earning, every penny saved for my future, handed over to William without a second thought." I stood up so abruptly my chair toppled backward. "Did you even consider asking me? It's my money." "Catherine Elizabeth Montgomery," my father's voice boomed through the dining room. "That is enough. This decision is final. William's project needs this investment, and as part of this family, you need to support what's best for everyone." "Best for everyone?" I laughed, but it came out more like a sob. "Or best for William?" "Your brother has vision," my mother said defensively. "He sees opportunities others can't. Sometimes that means taking risks. Risks with my future, I shouted, surprising even myself with the volume. What about my vision? My opportunities? My father's face hardened. If you can't understand the importance of supporting your family's interests, perhaps you're not as mature as we thought. Go to your room until you can discuss this rationally. I stood there, 18 years old, being sent to my room like a child for daring to object to having my future stolen. In that moment, something inside me shifted. A fundamental change in how I saw my family, my place in it, and what I needed to do next. Without another word, I turned and walked upstairs to my room. But instead of collapsing on my bed to cry, as they probably expected, I pulled out my largest backpack and began to pack. Essential clothes, my laptop, the emergency credit card I'd never used, and most importantly, my documents, birth certificate, social security card, passport. My hands moved methodically, my mind surprisingly clear despite the chaos of emotions swirling inside me. From my sock drawer, I retrieved the $200 I'd saved from my last tutoring sessions. Money I hadn't added to my college fund because I'd planned to use it for Princeton merchandise once I got in. Now it would serve a different purpose. As I packed, memories flooded through my mind. William's first failed startup, a social media platform for pets that burned through $50,000 our parents' money. His second attempt, a cryptocurrency that lasted 3 months before collapsing. Each failure met with encouragement, support, and more funding, while I was told to be practical about my dreams. The sound of the doorbell interrupted my thoughts. Through my window, I saw William's Tesla pulling into the driveway. Of course he was here, probably coming to collect his latest handout. I could hear their voices drifting up from below. William's charismatic laugh, my mother's adoring tone, my father's proud rumble. The perfect family moment, complete with their perfect son and his perfect excuses for needing more money. Opening my laptop one last time, I wrote 2 emails. The first to Princeton. Dear Admissions Committee, with deep regret, I must decline your offer of admission. Due to unexpected financial circumstances, I will be unable to attend Princeton University this fall. Thank you for the opportunity. Sincerely, Catherine Montgomery. The second email went to my parents. Mom and Dad, you've made your choice, and now I'm making mine. Don't look for me. Don't try to contact me. I'll find my own way without the family money or the family name. Catherine. I hit send, then removed the battery from my phone. From downstairs, I could hear William launching into another enthusiastic pitch about his revolutionary technology. In his world of dreams and schemes, $289,000 was probably just another number, just another stepping stone to his imagined success. But for me, it was the last straw. Slinging my backpack over my shoulder, I took one final look at my room, at the debate team trophies, the science fair medals, the honor roll certificates, all evidence of a life spent trying to earn the approval of parents who would always choose William first. I climbed down the trellis outside my window, something I hadn't done since I was 14. My feet hit the ground softly, and without looking back, I walked away from the Montgomery family estate. In my pocket was $200. In my head was a lifetime of straight A's and academic achievements. And in my heart was a burning determination to prove that they had made the biggest mistake of their lives. I didn't know then that 10 years later, I would be sitting across from them in a corporate boardroom, watching them pitch their failing company to potential investors, not realizing that their last hope for salvation was the daughter they had dismissed so easily. But that part of the story would come later. First, I had to build something from nothing. First, I had to become someone they would never expect their practical daughter to be. With each step away from my childhood home, my resolve strengthened. They wanted to bet everything on William. Fine. I would bet everything on myself. And I wouldn't need their $289,000 to do it. The first night of freedom tasted like cheap coffee and desperation. I sat in a 24-hour diner on the outskirts of Boston, my backpack tucked securely under my feet, watching my phone battery slowly die. Before it went dark completely, I saw 17 missed calls from my mother, 5 from my father, and 1 text from William. "Don't be dramatic, Kathy. Come home." I ordered another coffee, spreading my remaining cash on the laminate table. $178.42. The bus ticket from Connecticut had taken a bigger bite than expected. "More coffee, hun?" The waitress, Maria, had kind eyes and wore a name tag with 5 gold stars. "Thanks," I said, then hesitated. "Are you hiring?" She looked me over. Pristine college interview clothes, expensive laptop, the obvious signs of a privileged kid playing runaway. But something in my expression must have touched her because she didn't immediately dismiss me. "Kitchen help," she said finally. 6 to 2, minimum wage plus tip split. "Start tomorrow if you want." I nodded, relief flooding through me. "I'll be here." "There's a motel down the street," she added, scribbling on her order pad. "Tell Jimmy that Maria sent you. He'll give you the weekly rate." That night, in a motel room that smelled of old cigarettes and cleaning supplies, I opened my laptop and began to plan. The Princeton acceptance letter was still in my bag, a reminder of the future I'd just lost. But as I stared at it, an idea began to form. I'd spent my high school years tutoring rich kids in advanced mathematics and sciences. Their parents paid premium rates for my services because I got results: perfect SAT scores, improved GPAs, early college admissions. I'd always seen it as a way to earn extra money for college. Now, I saw it as the foundation for something bigger. Opening a new document, I began to type: Elite Academic Consulting Specialized Tutoring and College Admissions Guidance founded by a Princeton-accepted scholar. I worked through the night, building a simple website using my coding skills from AP Computer Science. By dawn, I had created professional-looking business cards at an all-night print shop, spending $50 of my precious savings. The next 6 months fell into a grueling routine. From 6 a.m. to 2 p.m., I worked at the diner, learning every aspect of the business I could. Maria, it turned out, had owned the place for 20 years. She taught me about inventory management, staff scheduling, and most importantly, how to read people. From 3 p.m. to 9 p.m., I built my tutoring business. My first client came from a regular at the diner who overheard me helping Maria's daughter with calculus during my break. Word spread quickly among the wealthy suburbs of Boston. There was a young tutor who had gotten into Princeton, but chose to defer, who could explain complex concepts clearly, who guaranteed results. I never mentioned my real last name. Catherine Montgomery became Kate Morgan, and my clients never questioned it. They cared about results, not pedigree. By month 3, I was making enough from tutoring to quit the diner, though I still helped Maria with her books on weekends. She'd become something between a friend and a mentor, teaching me lessons about business that no Ivy League school could match. "You're good with numbers," she said one Sunday, watching me optimize her inventory system. "But you're better with people. That's where real money is made." She was right. My tutoring clients weren't just paying for academic help. They were paying for confidence, for hope, for a chance at the future their children dreamed of. It was something I understood intimately. One day, as I was reviewing a student's college essay, his mother made an offhand comment that would change everything. If only you could clone yourself. Every parent in Boston would hire you. That night, I couldn't sleep. Clone myself? No. But I could scale. I reached out to other high-achieving students who had gotten into top colleges but chose to take gap years. Many were brilliant, but needed money, just like me. I offered them a proposition: work under my brand, use my methods, and earn 70% of the fees while I handled marketing and client acquisition. Within 2 months, Elite Academic Consulting had 10 tutors. Within 6 months, we had offices in Boston, New York, and Greenwich, Connecticut, though I carefully avoided any locations too close to my family's social circle. My first million came faster than I expected, earned through a combination of the tutoring business and strategic investments in tech stocks. I lived modestly, pouring every spare dollar into expansion. While William was probably still burning through my college fund on his latest venture, I was building something sustainable. But I knew tutoring was just the beginning. Through my wealthy clients, I began to hear whispers about investment opportunities, startups seeking funding, established companies looking for fresh perspectives. I listened, learned, and most importantly, I planned. The breakthrough came during a tutoring session with Emma Chen, daughter of tech mogul James Chen. As I helped her with advanced economics, I noticed the investment prospectus for his company, Chen Tech Solutions, lying open on his home office desk. "Dad's worried," Emma confided during our study break. "The new energy storage project is failing, but he's invested too much to back out now." Energy storage, just like William's supposed revolutionary technology. I spent that night researching Chen Tech's project, and by morning, I knew 2 things. First, their approach was fundamentally flawed, and second, I knew how to fix it. It took 3 weeks to get a meeting with James Chen, using every connection I'd built through my tutoring network. When I finally sat across from him in his corner office, he looked amused. "Miss Morgan," he said, "my daughter speaks highly of you. But what makes you think you understand energy storage technology?" I opened my laptop and began my presentation. 4 hours later, he wasn't smiling anymore. Instead, he was offering me a partnership. 30% stake, he said, if you can deliver what you're promising. I countered with 40% and full control of the technical development. He agreed. 6 months later, Chen Tech's new energy storage system was revolutionizing the industry. The technology that William had dreamed of creating, I had actually built, though under a different name and with a different company. My net worth jumped to 9 figures overnight. But I wasn't done. Using Chen Tech's success as a springboard, I began acquiring struggling tech companies, particularly in the energy sector. Each acquisition was done through shell companies and holding firms, always keeping the name Catherine Morgan separate from the growing business empire. I hired the best lawyers and accountants to create a labyrinth of corporations that all led back to Morgan Enterprises, my private holding company. To the outside world, Morgan Enterprises was run by a reclusive CEO who never gave interviews or appeared in public. Years passed. My empire grew. I moved from Boston to New York to Silicon Valley, always staying ahead of any chance encounters with my family. Through discreet sources, I kept tabs on them. William's string of failures continued, each one funded by my parents' dwindling resources. The Montgomery family fortune, built over generations, was being bowled dry by their blind faith in their son. Then one morning in my San Francisco penthouse office, my assistant brought me interesting news. Montgomery Technologies is looking for investors, she said, placing the report on my desk. They're on the verge of bankruptcy. Your father is meeting with potential buyers next week. I picked up the report, a smile playing at my lips. After 10 years, everything had come full circle. Schedule a meeting, I said, but use the Morgan Enterprises letterhead. Let's see if they recognize the daughter they threw away. It was time to show my family exactly what their practical daughter had become. The Montgomery Technologies building hadn't changed much in 10 years. The same pretentious granite facade, the same gold lettering above the entrance, the same security guard who never looked up from his crossword puzzle. But now, walking through the revolving doors in my Armani suit, I was no longer the teenage girl they had dismissed so easily. Miss Morgan? A young assistant hurried forward. The board is waiting in the main conference room. May I take your coat? I handed her my coat, suppressing a smile. My mother had always insisted that true power dressed in designer labels. Today, I wore enough worth of clothing to fund one of William's failed startups. Coffee? The assistant asked. Green tea, I replied, remembering how my mother used to mock my preference for tea over coffee. Proper brewing time, no sugar. The elevator ride to the top floor gave me time to center myself. 10 years of preparation had led to this moment. Through my network of shell companies and discrete investments, I had systematically acquired Montgomery Technologies' debt, positioned myself as their only viable lifeline, and now held their fate in my hands. The conference room doors opened to reveal a scene that almost made me laugh. My father, Robert Montgomery, sat at the head of the table, though that position would soon be mine. My mother, Elizabeth, perched beside him, her perfect posture betraying her anxiety. And William, my dear brother who had burned through my college fund and much of the family fortune, slouched in his chair, tapping away at his phone. Miss Morgan, my father stood, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. We've heard remarkable things about Morgan Enterprises. I shook his hand firmly, noting the slight tremor in his grip. The great Robert Montgomery was nervous. Good. Please, I gestured for him to sit. Let's discuss why we're here. For the next hour, I listened as they presented Montgomery Technologies' current situation. The company needed a $50 million cash injection just to stay afloat. Their stock had plummeted 70% in the last quarter. And William's latest venture, another attempt at revolutionary energy storage technology, had drained their remaining reserves. We believe with proper investment, my father continued, his voice carrying that same persuasive tone he'd used when telling me to be practical about my dreams, Montgomery Technologies could return to its former glory. I opened my laptop, displaying a series of graphs on the conference room screen. Your company's decline began approximately 10 years ago, I said, watching their faces carefully, coinciding with a series of interesting investment decisions. William shifted uncomfortably. My mother's perfectly manicured fingers drummed against the table. We took some calculated risks, my father defended. Calculated? I raised an eyebrow. Like investing $289,000 in an unproven energy storage concept. The room fell silent. That specific number, the exact amount of my stolen college fund, hung in the air like an accusation. How did you? William started, then caught himself. I stood, walking to the window that overlooked the city. Tell me, Mr. Montgomery, what would you say was your biggest mistake in business? My father cleared his throat. Perhaps expanding too quickly in certain markets. No, I cut him off, turning to face them. Your biggest mistake was sitting in this room 10 years ago, thinking she would just accept your decision and fade into the background. The color drained from my mother's face. William's phone clattered to the table. My father's expression froze in dawning recognition. Catherine? I smiled, savoring the moment. Hello, Dad. Mom. William. It's been a while. This is impossible, William sputtered. You're Catherine Morgan? Actually, it's Catherine Montgomery Morgan now, legally changed. I sat back down, enjoying their shocked expressions. But you'd know that if you'd bothered to look for me these past 10 years. My mother found her voice first. Darling, we tried to find you. No, I cut her off. You half-heartedly called around for a few weeks, then decided I was being dramatic and would come home when I ran out of money. I looked at William. How did that energy storage technology work out, by the way? The one you needed my college fund for? He flushed red. There were unexpected complications. Funny, I interrupted again, pulling up another presentation. Because Morgan Enterprises' subsidiary, Chentech Solutions, seems to have solved those complications quite successfully. I displayed the schematics of the energy storage system I'd helped develop, the one that had made me my first billion. My father's business instincts finally kicked in. You own Chentech? Among other things. I began listing companies on the screen. Chentech Solutions, Elite Academic Consulting, Morgan Global Ventures, and as of last month, approximately 40% of Montgomery Technology's outstanding debt. The room spun into chaos. William jumped up, knocking over his chair. My mother pressed her hands to her face. My father just stared, his empire crumbling before his eyes. Why? He finally asked. Why not just tell us who you were? I leaned forward, meeting his gaze. Because you needed to see me as you truly are. Not as parents facing their daughter, but as failing business people facing someone more successful than they ever imagined I could be. What do you want? William demanded. Revenge? I laughed. Revenge? Brother dear, if I wanted revenge, I would have bought this company 6 months ago and fired you all immediately. I stood, straightening my suit. No. What I want is to fix what you broke. What does that mean? My mother asked quietly. It means I'm offering to save Montgomery Technologies. Full debt restructuring, capital injection, and technological partnership with Chentech Solutions. I paused, letting that sink in. But there are conditions. My father's business mask slipped back into place. What conditions? First, William is out. No more positions, no more investment in his ventures, no more draining company resources. William started to protest, but my father silenced him with a look. Second, you and Mom retire, Dad. The company needs new leadership, not nostalgic devotion to failed strategies. And third? My mother asked, her voice barely a whisper. Third, I smiled, you all admit that sending me away was the best thing you ever did for me. Because everything I built without the Montgomery name, without the family connections, and without your money. Silence fell over the room. My father looked at the empire I'd built, displayed on the screen behind me. My mother's eyes filled with tears. Whether from pride or regret, I couldn't tell. William slumped in his chair, finally confronting the reality that his younger sister had achieved everything he'd failed to do. Do we have a deal? I asked, knowing the answer before they spoke. My father nodded slowly. We do, Miss Morgan. Good. I gathered my things, preparing to leave. The papers will be drawn up by tomorrow. Oh, and Mom. I paused at the door. The local community college you suggested. They're one of my charitable foundation's biggest beneficiaries now. Turns out practical decisions can lead to extraordinary results. I walked out of the conference room, out of the building that had once represented everything I couldn't have, and into the waiting car where Maria, my first boss, now my company's chief operating officer, waited. How did it go? She asked, handing me a perfectly brewed green tea. Exactly as planned, I replied, taking a sip. Though I think I'll keep the diner story out of the official company history. She laughed. Are you sure about this? Saving their company after everything they did. I looked back at the Montgomery Technologies building, thinking about the scared 18-year-old girl who had left home with just $200 and a determination to prove herself. You know what I learned in that diner, Maria? Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying what others built. It's building something so much greater that they're forced to acknowledge their own mistakes. And did they? I smiled, thinking of my father's face when he realized who I was, of my mother's tears, of William's final defeat. They will. Every time they see the new company letterhead, Montgomery Morgan Technologies. You're keeping the Montgomery name. Of course, I said, opening my laptop to check the markets. After all, I did promise to support the family business. I just did it my way. As we drove through the city, past the skyscrapers and offices that had once seemed so far out of reach, I thought about that acceptance letter to Princeton, still preserved in my office. I had framed it alongside my first business license, my first $1 million contract, and a simple name tag that read Kate, server, from a certain 24-hour diner. Sometimes the best future isn't the one that's planned for you, but the one you build for yourself. $1 at a time. One dream at a time. One victory at a time. And sometimes, just sometimes, $200 and an unwavering belief in yourself is worth more than all the family fortunes in the world.